Hi folks, welcome to Thursday's Look with Luke. We're in Luke chapter 2 and we are going to read a very familiar verse, and then we're actually going to think about it and we realize maybe we don't know as much as we think we know. Or maybe when I was looking at this, I was just seeing things that I hadn't seen before and you've already seen them. So let's read verses 6 and 7, the birth of Jesus. I'm in Matthew, that won't work. Luke chapter 2 and verse 6. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born, and she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger, because there was no guest room available for them. Such a simple statement. It's like getting a card saying, a baby is born to so-and-so and so-and-so, and everything that's involved with that. Such a simple statement, but so profound and so wonderful. Veiled in flesh, the Godhead see, hail the incarnate deity. Who is he in yonder stall? At whose feet we humbly fall. 'Tis the Lord, the King of glory. 'Tis the Lord, a wondrous story. The firstborn. What a word. This was Mary's firstborn. Now, let's do the secondary thing first and to simply say that this clearly implies that there were others born, that Mary did not remain a virgin for the rest of her life. And for those of you who are Catholics, you will be shocked at that. But that's the fairly clear teaching of Scripture. But firstborn here also has another meaning. Just think how often it's used in Scripture. So, for example, Romans 8, for those God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. So, Jesus being born here is so that we can be born again, is so that we can become his brothers and sisters, is so that he is the first. Or Colossians 1:15, the Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. Firstborn again, remember, for in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities, all things have been created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together, and he is the head of the body, the church. He is the beginning and the firstborn from among the dead, so that in everything he might have the supremacy. The firstborn over all creation, the firstborn out of the resurrection, the firstborn in the family of God, and Mary's firstborn. All of this, Mary's child is the firstborn par excellence, not just her firstborn, but the one over all creation, the one over death, the one over the church. I love that prototokos, the firstborn child, the first child. Just a couple of other details. He was wrapped in swaddling clothes, and I don't know if this is legitimate or not, but I think of this, that Christ came into this world wrapped in swaddling clothes, and he left this world in a sense of they came, to wrap him up in his tomb and found that he had risen. And then they placed him in a manger. Now, manger just there, it's a feeding trough. Incidentally, we always have this scene, nativities being done just now, of lots of animals. Well, there's no mention of animals here. It doesn't mean that there would be animals here. And furthermore, we talk about no room in the inn, and that's how it's traditionally understood. But here it talks about there was no guest room, because the phrase could just mean guest room. It might be that it was not an inn. In fact, there was a tradition that it was a cave at the end of a house. The point about it, though, was there just wasn't any accommodation for him. So, the birth of Jesus takes place in lowly circumstances, as we'll see when we come on to the shepherd. Maybe one other thing to say before I go. Ezekiel 16. On the day you were born, your cord was not cut, nor were you washed with water to make you clean, nor were you rubbed with salt or wrapped in cloths. No one looked on you with pity or had compassion enough to do any of these things for you. Rather, you were thrown out into the open field, for on the day you were born, you were despised. That's speaking about God's servant Israel, if you like. The Son was wrapped in clothes. He was never despised. He was always the beloved Son. He was never despised by God. He was always the beloved Son. I think he's beloved by Mary. There's an old cliche. It's a very good one, and I will use it again and again and again. There was no room in the inn, or there wasn't any accommodation for Jesus, not because there was a particular nastiness, but because everything was full. And I just simply ask, is there any room in your heart for Christ, or is your heart too full of other things? God bless you, and see you tomorrow. Bye.